Among history's most remarkable figures, Maria Theresa of Spain was born on the 10th of September in 1638 in El Escorial, a royal palace near Madrid. What would it be like to grow up knowing your future could shape the peace of nations? How does it feel to marry into another kingdom at such a young age, carrying the hopes of an empire on your shoulders? Please watch my full video until the end, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Please make sure to share it with your friends. Thank you. Now, let us dive into the full story. Maria Theresa was born into one of the most powerful royal families in Europe. Her father, Philip the Fourth, ruled the Spanish Empire, and her mother, Elizabeth of France, was the daughter of the French king. From birth, Maria Theresa was a symbol of unity between Spain and France. Her name was chosen in honor of Saint Teresa, and her early life was guided by the traditions of the Spanish court. After her mother passed away when she was just 6 years old, Maria Theresa grew close to her stepmother, Mariana of Austria, who was only a few years older than her. As a child, Maria Theresa was cared for by a royal governess named Luisa Magdalena de Jesus. Her spiritual lessons were first led by Juan de Palma and later by Father Vasquez, a wise and respected teacher in Spain. These early influences shaped her sense of duty, faith, and loyalty qualities that would follow her throughout her life. Though she was born into privilege, her journey would not be easy. Her destiny was tied to the fate of two nations. Maria Theresa of Spain belonged to two of the most powerful royal families in Europe, the House of Habsburg from Spain and the Bourbon family through her mother's side. This royal background gave her strong political importance even as a child. Her father, King Philip the Fourth of Spain, ruled over a vast empire that stretched across Europe and the Americas. Her mother, Elizabeth of France, came from the French royal family, which made Maria Theresa a natural bridge between two great kingdoms. Because Spain did not follow the same rules as France when it came to royal inheritance, a woman could be named the heir to the throne. This made Maria Theresa even more important. After her brother, Balthasar Charles, died in 1646, she became the next in line to rule the Spanish Empire. For more than 10 years, she held this title until another brother, Philip Prospero, was born in 1657. Then, after his death, she briefly became heir again for a few days in 1661, before her younger half-brother Charles was born. As heir to the Spanish throne, Maria Theresa was seen as a key figure in European politics. Her future marriage was not just about love or family. It was about building alliances, stopping wars, and keeping peace across nations. Her name was often brought up in plans for peace, especially as France and Spain looked for ways to stop their long battles. Her role was shaped by birth, but her actions would later show that she took this responsibility seriously. From early on, Maria Theresa was more than just a princess. She was a symbol of diplomacy and hope. As war between Spain and France started to come to an end, in the late 1650s, leaders from both countries searched for a way to bring lasting peace. A royal marriage between Maria Theresa of Spain and King Louis the Fourteenth of France became the most promising solution. Their relationship was especially close. Louis was Maria Theresa's double first cousin. His father, Louis the 13th, was the brother of Maria Theresa's mother, and her father, Philip the Fourth, was the brother of Louis's mother, Anne of Austria. This made their marriage a powerful symbol of unity between the two royal houses. Still, the path to marriage was not easy. Spanish leaders worried that if Maria Theresa married the French king, her children might later claim rights to the Spanish crown. To prevent this, Spain insisted that Maria Theresa give up all claims to the Spanish throne in her marriage contract. In exchange, France would receive a large dowry of 500,000 silver coins called écus. But Spain had been struggling financially due to years of war and could not pay the full amount. This meant that the agreement wasn't fully honored, and the issue would return later in European politics. The marriage contract became part of the Treaty of the Pyrenees in 1659. On the 2nd of June in 1660, Maria Theresa was married to Louis by proxy at Fuenterrabía. A few days later, she crossed the border and met her new husband in person. On the 9th of June, they were officially married at a church in Saint-Jean-de-Luz. This royal union was meant to bring peace, but it would also shape the future of Europe. The marriage between Maria Theresa of Spain and King Louis the Fourteenth of France was more than just a royal event. It was a powerful moment in European history. On the 7th of June in 1660, Maria Theresa crossed into France after meeting her husband's court on the Isle of Pheasant. Just 2 days later, on the 9th of June, their wedding took place in the newly rebuilt church of Saint John the Baptist in Saint-Jean-de-Luz. The ceremony marked not only their union, but also a public symbol of peace between Spain and France. At first, King Louis the Fourteenth appeared truly devoted to his new bride. During their journey to Paris, he ordered that they must always be housed together, no matter how small the place. When they arrived in the capital on the 26th of August in 1660, the people celebrated with joy, and the Queen was welcomed warmly. Maria Theresa was quiet and shy, but her gentle nature earned her the respect of many at court. Although the marriage had begun with great promise, it would soon face challenges. Even though Maria Theresa gave birth to their first child, the long-awaited Dauphin, on the 1st of November in 1661, King Louis's attention slowly drifted elsewhere. Just after the Queen fulfilled her duty of producing an heir, the king returned to his romantic interest in Louise de la Vallière. Still, in those early days, Maria Theresa remained hopeful. She embraced her role as queen and continued to perform her duties with grace and patience, trying her best to understand a new land and court that was very different from the one she had known in Spain. Maria Theresa's life as Queen of France began with high hopes, but it was not always easy. After leaving behind her home in Spain, she entered a French court filled with unfamiliar customs, fast-changing fashions, and a lively culture that often felt strange to her. She spoke Spanish and had to learn French quickly to understand those around her. The Queen preferred long religious services and quiet traditions from her homeland, while the French court enjoyed lively dances, humor, and endless social events. This made it hard for her to feel fully at home. Still, Maria Theresa held tight to her faith. She spent many hours in prayer and attended church services regularly. She also enjoyed quiet pastimes like card games and gambling, which were popular at court. Though she did not take part in politics, she understood her role and carried it out with respect and grace. The French people admired her for her kindness and devotion, even if she stayed out of the spotlight. One moment where Maria Theresa briefly stepped into leadership came in 1667, when King Louis the Fourteenth was away during a campaign. During this short time, she was named regent and was trusted with running affairs of state. While her involvement was limited, it showed that the king had confidence in her abilities. As Queen, Maria Theresa remained loyal and faithful, even while facing personal struggles. Her quiet strength and sense of duty helped her stay firm through the years, even as the court became more complicated. She did her best to serve her country, honor her marriage, and live by the values she believed in. Being Queen of France was never easy for Maria Theresa. Behind the grand palace walls and beautiful gowns were real struggles that she carried quietly. Though she was married to one of the most powerful kings in Europe, she often felt lonely. The French court could be a cold and difficult place, especially for someone raised with different customs and beliefs. Many people at court saw her as distant, but in truth, she was simply trying to adjust to a world that felt very foreign. One of the hardest parts of her life was dealing with King Louis the Fourteenth's ongoing affairs. While she remained faithful and respectful, her husband's attention was often focused on other women. Maria Theresa tried not to let this affect her role. She continued to attend royal events, support the church, and act as a symbol of strength and dignity. Even though her husband's mistresses were sometimes bold and disrespectful toward her, Maria Theresa kept her head high and rarely complained. Outside her personal life, Maria Theresa stayed busy with her royal duties. She appeared at important state events, joined her husband in public ceremonies, and offered quiet support in times of war and change. She especially loved working with the church and helped support many religious causes. Her actions often showed that even without political power, a queen could still make a difference through kindness and faith. Though she was rarely involved in decisions of government, her steady presence brought comfort to many. Through patience and inner strength, Maria Theresa managed to fulfill her role as queen with grace, despite the many hardships she faced in silence. Life at the royal court became more painful for Maria Theresa as her husband's unfaithfulness grew. King Louis the Fourteenth had many mistresses during their marriage, but one of the most well-known was Françoise Athenaïs, the Marquise de Montespan. Her presence at court caused many problems. She was confident, clever, and often acted with little regard for the queen's feelings. Maria Theresa, who was quiet and respectful, struggled to deal with the growing disrespect shown to her in public. At first, King Louis tried to keep his relationship secret, but over time, he became more open. This made Maria Theresa feel even more isolated. Although she never publicly spoke against her husband or his mistresses, many people could see the sadness in her eyes. The court was filled with whispers and drama, and many nobles took sides, creating tension in the royal household. The Marquise de Montespan held great influence over the king, even more than some political advisors. When her behavior became too bold, Louis sometimes scolded her to protect the queen's image. But in truth, he continued to support her behind the scenes. This situation placed Maria Theresa in a difficult position. She had to maintain her role as queen, smile at public events, and carry out her duties while facing humiliation in her private life. Even with all this, Maria Theresa never stopped acting with dignity. She continued to care for her family and support the church. Her patience and calmness in the face of court intrigue earned her respect from many. Though she was often overlooked, her quiet courage spoke louder than any words. As the years passed, another woman rose to importance in King Louis the XIV's life, Madame de Maintenon. She had first worked as the governess for the children born from the king's affair with the Marquise de Montespan. But over time, she became more than just a caretaker. Madame de Maintenon was wise, calm, and deeply religious. Unlike the king's earlier mistresses, she was quiet and respectful, which made her very different from the bold and proud Montespan. At first, Madame de Maintenon tried to help the queen by encouraging the king to show more kindness toward his wife. Maria Theresa noticed this change and grew to appreciate her. The queen welcomed the new favorite and treated her with warmth. For a short time, there was a sense of peace at court. After Maria Theresa's death, many believed that Madame de Maintenon secretly married King Louis. Though the marriage was never publicly announced, her influence became stronger, and she remained close to the king for the rest of his life. During her final years, Maria Theresa's relationship with Madame de Maintenon was one of quiet friendship. In a court filled with betrayal and whispers, this bond brought the queen some comfort. It showed that even in a world of power and pride, kindness still had a place. Maria Theresa of Spain became a mother 6 times during her marriage to King Louis the Fourteenth, but only one of her children lived to become an adult. Her first son, Louis, known as the Grand Dauphin, was born on the 1st of November in 1661. His birth brought great joy to the royal family and secured the future of the Bourbon dynasty. The king was present during the delivery and showed great care for the queen during those early days. Sadly, Maria Theresa's other 5 children all died young. Anne Elizabeth, born in 1662, passed away just weeks later. Then came Marie Anne, who lived only a short time after her birth in 1664. Their daughter, Maria Theresa, born in 1667, died at the age of 5. 2 more sons, Philippe Charles and Louis Francois, both died in early childhood as well. Each loss was heartbreaking for the Queen, who felt the pain deeply, but continued to fulfill her duties with quiet strength. Even though most of her children did not survive, Maria Theresa remained a loving and devoted mother. She was closely involved in raising the Grand Dauphin and tried to prepare him for his future role as king. Her gentle nature and sense of duty shaped his early years. Her role as a mother extended beyond personal affection. It was also political. Her son's survival gave France a clear heir, and later, her grandson would become King Philip V of Spain in 1700. In this way, Maria Theresa's legacy lived on, not just through her actions as queen, but through the powerful bloodlines she helped preserve and protect. By the summer of 1683, Queen Maria Theresa's health began to fail. She developed a painful swelling under her arm, later known to be an abscess. At first, the problem seemed small, but it quickly grew worse. Her doctors, led by Guy Crescent-Fagan, believed that bleeding her would help, even though others disagreed. Sadly, the treatment only made her weaker. The Queen became feverish and could barely move. Despite the pain, she remained calm and quiet as she had throughout her life. Maria Theresa died on the 30th of July in 1683 at the Palace of Versailles. She was 44 years old. Her death deeply saddened King Louis the Fourteenth. Though he had often neglected her during their marriage, he reportedly said, "This is the first sorrow she has ever given me." These words revealed the quiet impact she had on his life, always present, always loyal. Her funeral was held with great ceremony. Famous musicians, such as Marc-Antoine Charpentier and Jean-Baptiste Lully, composed music for the event, and the well-known preacher Bossuet delivered the prayer. Maria Theresa's body was laid to rest at the Basilica of Saint Denis, where many of France's kings and queens were buried. Though her final years were filled with sadness and illness, Maria Theresa faced her death with the same grace she had shown throughout her life. Her strength in silence, her dedication to duty, and her unshaken faith remained until the end. Her passing closed the chapter of a queen who had given everything quietly, asking for nothing in return. After Queen Maria Theresa passed away on the 30th of July in 1683, France entered a time of deep mourning. Though she had often lived in the background of court life, her death left a quiet emptiness. The royal court prepared a solemn funeral filled with tradition, beauty, and respect. Great musicians were asked to compose special pieces, including Jean-Baptiste Lully and Marc-Antoine Charpentier. Their music filled the grand halls during the ceremony, adding to the sense of loss and honor. The famous preacher Bossuet delivered the funeral prayer. His words reminded everyone of Maria Theresa's quiet strength and deep faith. She may not have held political power, but she had earned the respect of many through her patience, dignity, and loyalty. The ceremony was a final tribute to a queen who had given her life to the crown, even when her heart was often heavy. Maria Theresa was buried in the Basilica of Saint Denis, just outside Paris. This sacred place was the resting ground for most of France's kings and queens. Her tomb stood among those of the great rulers of history, marking her place in the royal story of France. Though she was gone, the people remembered her as a queen of quiet devotion. Her mourning was not loud or filled with drama, but it was sincere, just like the life she lived. Maria Theresa of Spain may not have ruled a nation or led armies, but her legacy remains strong in European history. As the Queen of France from 1660 until her death in 1683, she played a quiet yet meaningful role in the royal story of France. Her marriage to King Louis the Fourteenth helped bring peace between Spain and France after long years of war. Though she gave up her rights to the Spanish throne, her family line would later return to power in Spain when her grandson became King Philip V in 1700. Maria Theresa's life is often remembered for its silence. She rarely spoke out or took center stage. But behind that quietness was a woman of deep strength, strong faith, and lasting loyalty. She faced personal heartbreaks, including the early deaths of 5 of her 6 children and the ongoing infidelity of her husband. Yet, through it all, she carried herself with grace and never stopped fulfilling her duties. History often speaks louder about kings and warriors, but Maria Theresa's life reminds us that courage can also be found in quiet endurance. She was not a ruler of politics, but she ruled her own life with discipline and heart. Her actions helped shape alliances that would impact Europe for generations. Today, historians see her as a symbol of royal devotion, personal sacrifice, and quiet influence. Though she lived in the shadow of a powerful king, her story continues to shine. Maria Theresa's legacy is not built on power, but on patience, love, and the dignity she held until her final breath. Thank you very much for watching.